I'm T. Nathan McGee, and it's time for another software tax demonstration. We will be doing this evening 1040A, a pretty simple return with a head of household and a dependent. This is the third week of training, and let's get right into it. The screen you're looking at now is the login where you will be logging into your software. As you can see, the account name is Gtr Tax. You have your password that you'll be given. This is the agency name, firm name, and you have a security code you'll put in. You'll put in, well, that doesn't look like it's it. Let's try it again. Gtr Tax. Password populates once you put it in. Try that again. Okay, let's try it once more. And it looked like we were cooking with gas. And we have another security here that we're just going to see if we're going to eliminate this one. If I could learn to type, I'd be in business. Save and continue. Oh, mother's maiden name, okay. Okay. Now we're going to do a new return. So what we do is hit new return, and first thing you're going to place in it are the Social Security numbers. So let's do so. And you're going to repeat that process. Now, as you see here, it says Form 1040A and 1040EZ. The software does all three in one application, and it would populate which type is best for your return. So let's continue. Save and continue. And we want to populate the rest of this client's information. Her name is Kim, and we're going to go to the last name, Wills, and this return is also 142 in your booklet. If you haven't received your books yet, you will be able to download that from the software and start your practicing on your software returns. We give her a birth date. Okay, occupation. Email. Telephone. And we're going to say this is her cell phone, which is sufficient. Her address. And what I like to do is go straight to the zip code. If you can go to the zip code, you may save yourself a little extra work. And usually it will populate the city for you. There you go. And we're going to hit save and continue. Now when you're practicing these in your software, and if the number you put in, it rejects it because you put this number's already been put in. So you might want to change the numbers around or for your practice and see what happens for you. Now, this is the interview mode you're looking at, and we don't want the internet mode. We want the direct mode. So we're going to hit the X at the top, and from here we're going to hit edit. This is the old model I'm looking at right now, and I prefer it, familiar with it. It's a little bit simpler. We're going to hit edit in the corner. We're going to hit direct mode. Right now it's on the interview input, and we're going to hit direct input, save and continue, and this is what you'll see. Now we want to continue. To the left here we have all the forms that you could possibly decide to put in. Okay, and you also have a search box here if you just want to do a W-2. Put W-2 in, and you see it populates the different types of W-2s that you can have for a person's return. Over to the right, these are different forms that will help you make this possible. If you, for any reason, run across something that you're not familiar with, you're able to read up on it. If I click on what is styling file status, of course we know what that might be, but let's just click on it. It takes you to the IRS, and doesn't look like this one is working here. That's unusual. How about identity PIN number? See what it comes up with. And it explains to you what an IP PIN is. Okay, you can read up on it right here. But of course, by this time you will know what that means. Okay. Now, the first thing I want to pinpoint, this little box over here in the bottom left is where the income figures that come in. The total income, the refund, that number you want to watch very closely, and the deductions. These things will populate as we continue. And to the bottom right, you see form 1040EZ, and that is the form we're working at present. It will change as we input information. Now, first thing I want to encourage everyone is to read everything on the return. You want to look at the name, see if it's spelled correctly. Because if it's not spelled the same way it was last year, the system may kick it out, and you will have to put the same name in for the same person with this birth certificate. Okay? And you want to read every line. If you receive a IPP PIN from the IRS, enter in the space above the space here. If you do not receive an IP PIN, leave this box blank. The IP PIN is 6 digits long and is not the same as a self-select PIN. But you'll know what that is. If you have one, the customer will come with a form that tells you that they have a PIN. And mainly this happens if a person had identity theft or some reason where the IRS had to give them a PIN number. Now, we also want to make sure we click the appropriate boxes here. As you can see, claim and exemption is already pre-populated. Valid Social Security for earned income credit, EIC is populated, and everything else that the person would need would be here too. If a person's a student, you would click how many months they were a student. If it was full-time or part-time, you put that in. That looks like a new box. Okay, we want to put down nothing at this time. Disabled, if the person is disabled, make sure they get that and how many months they were disabled. Blind, deceased, spouse may be deceased, you still can claim that person. If a child is kidnapped, you can claim that person up to 3 years, up to they're 18 years old, matter of fact. Okay, continuing on, Affordable Care Act. Questions. This is insurance. Did the primary taxpayer have health insurance coverage during the time of 2000, and this will be 17 coming up. This says 16, you'll put yes. And I think we'll do one for no next week, so you'll see what to do when a person has no. The system will kick out and penalize them for at least $300 or $400 if they don't have insurance. But you can also click this and claim a hardship, which we'll show you to do. But we're going to say yes. More questions populate. Did the primary taxpayer have health insurance coverage during the marketplace, through marketplace at any time? We're going to say no for this one. If you did, you're going to have some paperwork to prove it, because they're going to ask you that a little bit later. A lot of people through Obamacare, they may call it, you went through what you call a marketplace, and they gave you Blue Cross or Humana, gold, silver, bronze, and depending on what coverage you wanted, what hospital you wanted to go to, whether they took it or not, Humana or Blue Cross, and you chose your the kind of insurance you could afford. Okay. Now, select the appropriate boxes for primary taxpayer, and that's the primary taxpayer at this point. It's the first name we put in. Do you need a 1095 form in order to file? Do I need a 1095 form in order to file? You do. So that's going to be one of the questions you're going to ask your clients. You need that health form form that they have, that they've proven that they've had insurance for a certain amount of months, whether it's for an employee, which is the second box here, or it's government or state insurance, which is health, Medicaid, or something of that nature. We'll go here. And also, we're going to say that for this particular return. Also, we're going to say you can click here for the number of months. And I like to select all, unless they've had a few less months, and you would just click off what months they didn't have. The filing status, single. We're going to say head of household. If a person has a dependent, you have to have a dependent to claim head of household. If you're married, you would file married, file them jointly or separately. Okay. And basically, in none of this you really have to worry about at this point, unless they were married as of January 31st, that last day of the year. You would click that. Spouse claim as a dependent of another. If somebody else is claiming your spouse, you do click those. And make sure you read everything on there. Spouse's filed return. Spouse's claimed exemption. Spouse has income. Okay. No spouse in this case. In care of CEO. Check here foreign address. Neither case applies. All this is already populated. Another contact number. Sometimes you may need it if you're using a bank card or loan. They may require you to have two numbers, and you can supply with another number at that time. Status. This says stuff like if you didn't have an American valid phone number. But I suggest you, if you're new, read every line so you at least know what it's saying. Get that practice in and understand what it's saying, so you can know whether you can bypass some of these lines or not. But it won't let you get past if you make a mistake, or if you don't fill out something that has to be filled out. Resident city, we're going to say Detroit. No, we're going to say, I think it was Bloomfield. I think it was, I forgot what you had here. Yeah, Bloomfield, okay. You scroll down till you find Bloomfield. I think I saw it. There it is. If you have a checking account, you click checking account, you put the check number in here. You're going to do it twice. And you're going to put an account number. Again, double check. And if you want it to go on the state, if you want this money to go into the state as well, and that's what you're putting. You're putting it so the money will go into your bank account. And you want to click here if you want the state return. They go in there as well. And this says if a final deposit destination will be for account outside of the United States, you would click that. Most cases not. And you would click this for the return and hit save. If it's something that's not done properly, it will let you know right now. Okay, all is well. School district, we're going to say Bloomfield. Hit save. Now we want to put in her W-2 information, so we're going to keep this again. We wrote W-2 in the search box. We're going to hit search. It brings up a W-2 form. You're going to hit add new or this plus sign. Now we're going to populate this information. W-2 belongs to the primary, which is here. If it's married or other names, it would show up as well. Again, you want to read everything. Wage and tax summary. Check the block auto calculation. Click here to if military wages. Click here if church employee income has not worked as a minister. Click here if non-standard W-2. Click here if a minister's wages. Click here if the care provider W-2. None of these apply, and we don't have an IRS verification code to put in here. So we will continue with the return from the W-2. The control number sometimes may be on a W-2, and we're going to pause so we can show you one. Now we will pull up a copy of a W-2. Now this is a past client from years, from the past year. You can see the control number. Now you don't really have to put that number in. The name has been blotted out. The employer EIN number has to be put in. Keep clicking that out. The rest of this information will be populated automatically. Your address that you put in, the wages you need to put in, which you'll find on line 1, and the tax withheld will be put in on line 2, if any. And as you can see, nothing is down here on 12 through 14, but in a lot of cases we're going to talk about, there will be information for health or W-401 that you might want to place in there, and you'll see that on the return. So let's continue. I'm going to put her social, the EIN number of her firm name, which was Ford Motor Company. Best find the EIN number here. Here we go. Here it is. Okay, and the name. And like I said, I like to put the pre-populate the address. And you have to have the zip code. And this is the address you're going to put in. The wages she made was $20,500, and tax withheld $3,034. As you can see, this information populated inside Social Security, other information here. 12 through 14 we don't have to worry about for this client, but You want to make sure you do. If you do receive a W-2 with that form, these numbers have to be placed in. It'll tell whether it's Social Security 401 or for health reasons or Army or military or something of that nature. Down here, line 15 is the state. I'll populate that information. It would go here. The same EIN number. 433-440-044, I believe. Let's make sure. Not quite. 440-434. Okay, there we go. State wages would be the same as the wages here. Now this number you can copy, but you can't copy that EIN number from the employer and place it down. You have to write that one in. And taxes withheld from the state. Put that in as well and hit save. Wait for that to process. And as you can see so far, she's receiving $2,516 over in the bottom right hand corner here. Now let's see what else this client qualifies for. She has a dependent. We're going to put in D. We would have put DEP and spelled out dependent, but it comes up, and we're going to put down dependent information. I think I clicked on the wrong one. I did. Let's do that again. D, and dependent information comes up. Same case as before, either to add new or hit the plus sign. You put the person's name in. It was a daughter, and this young lady's name is Emily. No middle initial. Wheels. Relationship is a daughter. The Social Security number has to be put in. And repeat that. And birth date. Now, if I had forgotten his birth date, it would remind me. No PIN number here. And we have to reiterate to the client has lived with the primary taxpayer at least 6 months out of the year to be able to claim that person. This person is 12 months that the child has lived with the parent or the guardian, foster care, adopted child. And as we continue, we make sure we read everything again. No due to divorce or separation. No for another reason for the child. No. Yes, she has lived there 6 weeks. If the child deceased or kidnapped, that would go here. Head of household is looking for you to claim that. You're going to put yes. This is a head of household qualifier. Claim as a dependent, populated, eligible for tax, child tax credit. She is under the age of 18 and U.S. citizen, yes. Claim this qualifying child as earned income credit, EIC. Full-time student, she's going to school but not as in a college or out of high school yet. So permanently or totally disabled, that would be in this box. Kidnapped by someone who is not the family member, and that would go in here as we mentioned earlier. If you had a child care center that your child went to, you paid money, there's a form 2441 you fill out. You can claim up to $3,000 per child. Okay, and let's see, continuing on. Qualified tuition as related to expenses paid to eligible institutions not listed on form 1098T. That's a college form that you'll have to put down for an eligible recipient. Not in this case. Note to enter all other student information and dependent. This child is in elementary school. Does this dependent as a qualifying child have a social security number that allows him or her to work or is valid for EIC purposes? You're going to hit yes, which these things are already populated. Could not any other person claim this dependent as a qualifying child for earned income credit purposes? Yet no. Did this dependent live with you in the United States for more than half of 2016? I'm going to put yes there. And again, the insurance pops up for Affordable Care Act. Does a dependent taxpayer have health insurance? We're going to say yes. The marketplace question pops up. We're going to say no, because they receive the same type as the mother in this case. And we could have said employee if they had one. We're going to say the whole 12 months. Now, I was going to ask you to prove this with that 1095 as we read a little earlier. 1095B for this particular client. And is this dependent required to file their own taxes? We're going to say no. And I think a client is entitled to earn up to like $6,000 and still not claim taxes or be able to file a return or have to file one. So you can put no on that if you were claiming a young child that at 15 to 16 was still working. Hit save. And I like to see what happens in this little box over here. I don't gamble, but if I did, if you like watching slots go around, okay. And the numbers fall. We have $6,921 for this young lady. A very nice return. Okay. As we said, this is a 1040A. The forms are populated as you see as they're being filled out. The schedule for the earned income credit, the schedule 8812, forms 8867, which we haven't filled these out yet, but we will to close it out. And this is pretty much done for this return. It's a simple return, as we said in the beginning. 1040A, and they qualified as a 1040 as well. But it's a 1040A schedule if you fill out the form, and let's just look at what that would look like. As you can see, the form that you may be accustomed to, this is what it looks like. It has all the information of the primary, the information about the dependent, two dependents, the money she made. If anything else that she would made would go in these columns. And there's also other incomes that she might want to add if she was let's see, self-employed, which we will definitely be doing some Schedule C's for. Qualified taxpayers, student loan would go here. Okay, or student loans would also go on the American Opportunity Credit, which is Form 8863. And we'll be glad to show you that. The earned income credit has been populated. She got $3,000 just for that extra dependent. This is money to stimulate the economy and the taxes that she paid. So she got basically all of that money back, plus the child tax credit, as you can see here. $687 was added to that. And this is the return she will receive. Okay. Now we like to email our clients digital returns instead of giving them a hard copy to save on ink and paper. But if they did want to request it, you would do so, which we can show you in a later video. Now, again, we want to double check it. So here, if you look in the top left, it says filed forms. You click on that, and it shows you all the forms that were filed for this particular client. W-2, the 8867, which we really haven't performed yet, but it will populate. It's called a due diligence form. The government wants to know that you check documents, collect documents. Was a suspicious client? Did they seem truthful? And we will cover that as well. And in the verification, and that's when these things will be populated. Now, let's conclude by always going over your client's return with them. Is the name spelled right, Miss Willis? She'll look at it. Is the social put in correctly? She'll look at that as well. Yes, yes. And we go over the other information, insurance, 1095 form here, head of household, bank account, make sure that's done. We want to double check it all. Okay, so when we're doing that, we're verifying. What is it going to give us? It's asking for the 1095Bs for both clients. We're going to click on here, and nothing came up. So we go over to the forms and type in 1095. As you see, the A, B, and C comes up. We're going to click on the B, and it's going to populate for us. It's asking for that information. So, name of responsible individual, Kim. As you can see, both names are here. That pre-pops that information and the address. Enter the letter identifying origin of the policy. Government-sponsored program. Scroll down again. This section is for the employer. This section is for other coverages. So we have to put that information in. Let's put in Michigan Department of Health. We'll just put State of Michigan. I think we're going to put that. State okay. And employer ID number. I'm not exactly sure what that would be right now. Let me pause and see if I can find one for you. Now let's resume with this 1095 form. Let's pull up one. As you can see, 1095 at the top. And I brought this model, this particular one out because the picture is not done properly. When you have your documents photographed and you have your clients do them, take the photograph, you want to make sure that they have their document flat, the camera, whether it's just your phone or whatever you may use, straight over the document flat, covering all four corners, not on the angle, because as you can see on the left side here, these numbers are a little bit harder to see. But pretty much we know what these numbers are supposed to be, and what we do have on it and we need, we can they are legible for us to go continue. So the name, socials has been crossed out, but as you can see, what we wanted was the employer ID number, and I think that is here, 38,6134. 38,6134. Telephone number I think is 800-642-3195. The address, you got what that was. I know the state is, zip code is 48909, and populate that city for us, and we need that address, so let's look at that. Post office box 3749. Very good. Now we continue with putting the individual's coverage for 1095 has been added, included the information listed as responsible part 1. Responsible part 1. Add the plus sign or add. You click on the first name, which is Kim. It populates how many months she had coverage, and it comes up. Hit save. She is done. I didn't add any extra, but if we hadn't clicked that all 12 months before, it would have populated more for us here. Now we also want to put the daughter in this part of this same return as far as responsibility. The mother's responsible for the child. So we're going to just put the child on here as well. Her name is populated. Click it. 12 months. Save. No change in the qualifying dollar amount, as you can see here. And we hit save again. Let's see if it populates any more for us. No changes. Very good. Now we're going to continue our verification as we close this account out. It's going to ask for due diligence of the two clients. We're going to click here. It did populate that for us, so we don't have to go to the search to find the 8867 form. And I encourage everyone to read everything until you know pretty much this by heart. Did you complete the return based on the information for tax year 2015 provided by the taxpayer or reasonable obtained by you? We're going to hit yes. And that goes for the CTC as well, child tax credit. Did you complete the applicable EIC and TCC worksheets found in the form 1040, 1040A, 1040EZ, or the 1040NR instructions? Worksheets found in Form 8863, which is a school form, or your own worksheets that you provided the same information on all related forms and schedules for each credit claim. As you can see to the bottom right here, earned income credit has already been here and scheduled and made for us. Let's just look at it. And you can see it's been populated for us already. Thank you very much. We're going to say yes. Child care credit, tax credit. Did you satisfy the knowledge requirement? To satisfy the knowledge requirement, you must answer yes to both A, 3A, and B. Interview the taxpayer. Ask adequate questions and document of the taxpayer responses to determine that the taxpayer is eligible to claim the credits. We did ask them, did the child live within 6 months, and that's pretty much it qualifying them for the earned income credit. We also asked them, did they have any health records or school records with the address on it, with the same address to verify and prove to us that this child was theirs or lived in their house for 6 months, by an address for the school records, document records, doctor's records, something that has their name and address corresponding with the primary claim of the primary taxpayer that's doing her taxes. And those are the type of questions you're going to ask. You want to get the documentation. So we're going to say yes. Review adequate information to determine if the taxpayer is eligible to claim the credit and in what amount. We looked at that as well. Did any information provided by the taxpayer, a third party, or reasonably known to you in connection with the preparing the return appear to be incorrect, incomplete, or inconsistent? We're going to say no to that one. Did you make responsible inquiries to determine the correct or complete information we asked about? If it had said yes, then these would have populated. We could answer them, but since we said no, they didn't look inconsistent. They showed us some school records with the child's name on it, or a doctor bill, or health card with their name and their address. We are fine. Okay, continuing on. Okay, I went a little fast on that one. Did you satisfy the record retention requirement? And that's why we asked you to take photographs of the documents. We have to keep records at least 3 years to 5 years on the proof of Social Security, birth certificates, driver's license, ID for the child, any health records, any receipts that they can show us about if they had Schedule C's for what they've been doing, proof that they've are able to claim this credit. And we've done that as well. So we hit yes for that one and yes for the earned income credit. It's going to ask for explanation, but it wants you to answer some questions. If I click on it now, as you can see, basically nothing really happens, but it lets us know that we missed a question. And we missed the questions we haven't gotten to. So, did you ask the taxpayer whether he or she could provide documentation to substantiate eligibility for the amount of the credit claim on the return? We're going to hit yes. Did you ask the taxpayer if any other credits were disallowed or reduced in the previous year? One of our forms that you first initially, a questionnaire they fill out, asks if they did their taxes the next year, did they have to claim any money by child support or whatever, and these questions on that questionnaire basically answers this question for you. Were any credits disallowed during the reduced? We're going to say no. And this doesn't populate. Did you complete the required recertification forms? It doesn't populate because you didn't hit yes. If the taxpayer is reporting self-employed, which they didn't, it would be yes, because we're going to get documentation for that in the forms of some receipts for that form and closing it out pretty much. Did you, again, it's going to ask the same questions. Did you explain to the taxpayer the rules about claiming the earned income credit, EIC, when a child is a qualifying child or more than one person? Tie-break rules. Have you determined that the taxpayer is in fact eligible to claim the earned income credit for the number of children for whom the earned income credit is claimed? We're going to say yes. Again, an address with documentation on it was sufficient. Did you explain to the taxpayer that he must live with him 6 months, which we did? If the taxpayer had not lived with the child for over half a year, even if the taxpayer has supported the child, we're going to hit yes. Due diligence questions for the return, claiming ETC and additional ETC. Basically, this is saying down here, did we do the form 8867, which we're doing now, and we're going to hit yes. Did the child reside at the taxpayer who's claiming? Yes. And have you determined that the taxpayer has not released a claim to another person? We're going to say yes. We're going to ask them, anybody else claim this child? You say no. Did you certify that all the answers on the form 88 are to the best of your knowledge true, correct, and complete? We're going to hit yes. Got this information from the taxpayer. And we're going to hit save. And by doing both rows, we probably satisfied the 8867 requirement for both child and adult. Oh, we did miss one thing here. Let's go back. The explanation. And what I usually just put in, client gave ID for children, health record, W-2s, all requiring documentation. I want to copy that. Look, I spelled client wrong. I think it's spelled right. Okay. And we're going to hit, like I said, copy that. Hit save, not close. If you do it, you hit close, you're going to have to do it again. And we go to the next box. We're going to put it again, hit save. And we've covered that requirement. Now, when we hit save, and we go back to verify, we won't see the question for 8867. Go to verify, they are gone. Now, additional information, it populated. Does she have a driver's license? We're going to say yes. Like I said, read all the information. Basically, it's a form for ID, driver's license in Michigan, or whatever state you're working with. I'm going to enter that number, W. Wait a minute, do I have enough numbers here? And it's going to ask for the expiration dates. I'm not sure what birthday we gave her. Oh, wait a minute here. This is the date issued. And 15th. And the date expires. Usually on a person's birthday. Like I said, I'm not sure what I put in, but you will have to match it. If the state has issued a PIN number, that would go here. Taxpayer identification, verification in person, yes. More questions. Click here if you have verified the possession of the current primary government picture that contains applicant's pictures, applicant's picture, and either address of record for or nationality of record, driver's license or passport. Go ahead, yes. Check here if the taxpayer's current primary government picture ID is valid. Go ahead, yes. And we didn't do it twice. It's asking for current picture is verified. If we did verify it. Check here if you verified a second. No. Check here if you verify financial account. We did look at the paperwork that they gave us for their account number. Either they just told us or their bank account, and we verified it as what they told us it was. And we're going to take a record. I take pictures of everything. If they gave me the wrong account, I got a picture of what they gave me. They're going to sign off on in that verification. It's the right account number. Okay, let's continue. And as we see here, taxpayer identification verification in remote. We do a lot of remotes over the phone in different parts of the country. I'm doing the taxes in my office, and a client is still at home or at their office. We do them by remote. So we're going to say, in this case, no, and hit save. If you had hit yes, it's going to ask you more questions that you would answer, basically the same as these that you verify and confirm the records. I'm going to hit no, hit save. And again, we go back to verify, see what else needs to be done to complete this form. Taxpayer ID PIN number, you're going to click on that. It's going to populate the EIN number, which we'll give you. It's 60707. Automatically generate. You can put one in if you want to, but I just hit that and it gives us one. I click the box for enter by ERO, which will be the person that'll send these taxes off for you, unless you're sending your own off by being a franchise and have been qualified to do so. Not paper filed, as it's asking here. And we're going to hit save. And that is done. See if verify any errors. We did double check with the client about the social numbers of the child and their social security numbers to make sure everything is legible, up to date, and verified properly as the correct numbers to be placed in. Now we go to complete. We're going to hit yes. We did mark the return completed. Are you ready to mark the return review? We did review it, yes. File this return as electronically or paper. If a person doesn't make enough money and they don't get anything back, you probably want to do a paper return. Electronically, they get it back a lot faster, a little bit faster for sure, maybe a couple months faster. So you want to go electronically. The bank does take fees for that, and we'll talk about that. Save. Now we want to close, save, and close. We don't want to return to the manager in the front, which will end up, but we're going to stop here. Just close. The money is still there. The forms have populated, as you can see over here. But the last portion we would like to do before we show them how much they are going to cost them to have the returns made is the signature. Most of these things will be pre-populated: the federal form, state form, bank products, earned income diligence worksheets, and we hit start, and a person will write their name. They don't like that, hit clear. I'm going to say that's a M. And sometimes we do better. If they don't like it, they can try as many times as they like. And you hit save signature. It is done. For today's lesson, the 1040A with a dependent primary, showing you the system software to put the information in correctly. Make sure you read everything. And normally at this point we would hit close. Are you sure you want to close? We're going to hit yes. Takes us to the front of the system. This is the old model, which I prefer. And you would hit client payment, and we would go through the payment process. Today we won't do that, but week 3, the third lesson, we will go through this completely, so that you see how what the charges are, how you tell a client what she's going to be paying for her return. That's going to come out of her returns, and she's happy she doesn't have to pay now. There's also other products that's available, like advance money that's available that she'll be able to click on if she wants that. And this has been a GTR presentation for 1040A. We thank you for your participation and your diligence, and have a great week.